is time to talk Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown and basically have a bit of a reality check here. The game has been going through a mixed patch. I'm sure that most of you saw this new trailer and it kind of sparked a bit of debate over a couple of things. Now, I personally was quite excited about it because one of the biggest, most important things to me was the Explore experience in Test Drive. It's kind of what made it unique, and it's something that other games have taken, like Forza Horizon. Hell, even Need for Speed has gone, let's try an exploration in our games. And of course, The Crew, which was, well, it was kind of born of Test Drive. But it wasn't until recently that I watched back this trailer again and I noticed that people were talking about the lack of particles or dirt on the cars. And I honestly, I didn't even notice it. Maybe I need to upgrade my PC and I've been playing games on low settings. I don't know. But I didn't notice it initially. But it's definitely there. You can see that the cars don't get dirty and there's no effects. Now, that brings me on to, what the hell are they doing? Why do they keep delaying the game? Well, there's a convenient reason why I was showing you this, is because ultimately, this was one of the things they mentioned that they were doing. In fact, if you just search effects, you can see absence of particle effects, especially dust and splashes on gravel roads. Our current development goal for this is to find the best balance between particle effects and performance while ensuring smooth gameplay remains priority. So basically, either they're not done or they are done and they were taking up too much performance and they turned them off of the trailer. And to be honest, again, I did not notice them. However, they should be there. I'm not saying they shouldn't. So particle effects aside, because overall, it's not a huge thing. Okay, the cars are getting a bit dirty, but they could get a bit dirty. You know, you're going through water, the car gets wet, the sand go... Yeah, you can spend forever on this. The other thing that they're working on, in my opinion, is a little bit more significant. In fact, on the exact same article, if you search server, you'll find this. We've been conducting several tests to test the power and stability of servers so that we can gradually reflect real-world launch conditions. Server infrastructure for an MMO is a major challenge, and then here, that's why we've been working flat out on several areas, including the stability of our servers, infrastructure, optimizing the game's performance. When we feel these two areas are stable, we'll be delighted to share the long-awaited launch date with you. So that is our answer. That is what they are doing with Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown right now. They are trying to effectively balance performance so that the performance works well, and they're also looking to make sure the servers don't let us down. Because if you didn't know, and this was a little thing they kind of dropped quite quietly, but nonetheless they did drop it, and I'm very grateful that they did. Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown is an always online game. Bruh. Now, this is extra unfortunate for a few reasons. You can actually see the game slowing down there in the interior view. The details on the interior and stuff is super, super sick. And this is more significant than you will realize for a couple of reasons. These cars, the model, the world, everything here in this game is built afresh, anew. I've got to give a balanced opinion here. And ultimately, I don't really mind that it's taking longer to develop. What I do mind is the always online. Now, I'm not saying that always online is 100% bad in every situation. In Gran Turismo Sport, it kind of made sense, and they did eventually patch to get rid of the always online later on. If you do not plan to do that, I'm not okay with it. And the difference is, like, Japanese companies, they have some kind of values, you know? They knew that they were gonna do this in the future, and now we don't feel worried about Gran Turismo 7, because there was a time where the game went down for, like, weeks, it felt like, which was unacceptable, but now I know the servers one day won't be required. I don't really care as much. I think fine. The fact of the matter is, you're telling me two things here. The game is delayed because of performance, which is something people are complaining about, and because of always online, which is something we are saying is terrible. Please do not do it. Hear me out. Not everyone is going to want to play online, and ultimately the game may be best experienced with other players. That's kind of the point, at least is described as such. It's an always online MMO. You drive around, you see other people. We don't know the effects of this yet. That hasn't really been explained. Is it sessioning? Is it going to be just 100 people? Is it going to be 50 people? Is it going to be 30 people? Is it going to be 10 people? Is it going to be drop in, drop out? How is it actually going to work that it's required for it to be an always online game? What element requires it to be always online? Does it have a campaign? I really hope it has a campaign. Does it have a story? I really hope it has a story. And if it has all these elements and I can build and upgrade and create a collection of stupid cars that I will never be able to obtain, and then you say you're going to take them away from me, not ideal. So let me just bring back the conversation of balance that I was talking about a little bit earlier. This game is built by a smaller team with a smaller budget than the games like Need for Speed, Forza Horizon. It's a new name. It's smaller than The Crew, which is obviously quite funny in that The Crew was spawned from that, but they are now 3 games into The Crew. They're an established IP. This is coming from a studio that hasn't worked on a test drive game before. However, the management is from Test Drive. They've got people in there from the actual height of that series, from the games that you remember, the first, obviously, Test Drive Unlimited 1 and Test Drive Unlimited 2. You've got them making a game of this scale, of this size. We know the map is going to be huge. It's a 1-to-1 of the actual Hong Kong island. Building all of these cars, the upgrade systems, the physics systems will have been altered from WRC. The whole building meshes, everything you see is actually built for this new IP, this new game. And it's incredible. The fact that this is possible these days, it still boggles the mind to me. Because if you look at how gaming industry in general is going, it seems like even AAA games are struggling to really deliver in what a lot of people want. So for a new IP to be born and then throwing so much time and money and effort into this, that's what I respect. That's what I insanely appreciate. So back to the most recent trailer. Let's discuss when I think this game's actually going to come out, because that is the topic on people's minds. If the server issues, maybe the always online will be removed and maybe it'll become optional, because Test Drive Unlimited 2 had the same thing. You could play it online and then it would have a little red icon, and then some things would kind of break and it wouldn't really be a great experience overall. It would be kind of trying to connect. Doesn't matter. Nonetheless, you could play the game and you could still play the game. And now, after its death, people in the community have created the ability to play the game. Even on PS3, you can now actually play Test Drive Unlimited 2 online again using a server emulation. So they can emulate the servers that existed once before. Anyway, they get the effects balance right, sorted, and done, and then they get the always online stable or optional. They get rid of the always online is the ideal situation. By the way, website Stop Killing Games. If you've got a copy of The Crew, yeah, you know what to do. In fact, this will help games exactly like this, because they're actually also in France. Let's get straight to it then. I think the actual potential release dates are going to be either August or December. There is a little bit of science to the madness here and the calculation involved. I haven't just pulled those numbers out of my arse. They still plan to release this year, and another big contributing factor as to why they should be releasing this year was GTA 6. Obviously, they're not direct competitors, but they kind of have a similar feel in that you're trying to collect as many cars as you can. You want to be a big rich dog. You want to be a big boy. They're similar enough, and it doesn't even matter. Even Call of Duty and all these other big IPs are afraid of GTA. Everyone avoids GTA. It's just not sensible to try and compete around the same time. I think the whole of next year is just going to be cleared. And you know what? I don't even mind, because it gives gamers more development time or makes them rush. Forza Horizon expected September to November. They kind of chop and change between those dates more recently. I imagine it will come out this year, Forza Horizon, which again is quite a significant IP that's similar to Test Drive. Obviously, it was birthed because of Test Drive, and it's in how it plays and the houses and the big crazy, oh, look at me, I'm a rich baboon. So I think it's a pretty safe bet that we're going to see this game, let's say August or December. And if not, good luck. We might get pushed into early next year, which I don't see that. It's all about polish and server performance. And if those things ruin it just doesn't make sense. They've put a lot into this IP. They've lost the WRC license to EA. So this is their game, which is why now you've seen them working on about 7 other games, different departments. But you know, it doesn't take the whole team to optimize, right? right? So of course, now we talk about the event I participated in and how it came together, and ultimately issues with the event as such. So the game was showcased in the worst possible light. I genuinely enjoyed my experience with this game. Something straight away you can tell, the sense of speed in this game is awesome, and that's something that, you know, me and you, we always talk about. Most games get sense of speed really wrong. This game didn't. Now the actual video, not strangely, in Europe we actually use a standard of 25 FPS, which is usually used for camera gear, for filming gear and things like that. And then therefore the gameplay looks to have been pushed down to 25 frames a second, matching the output, meaning it's skipping frames a heck of a lot more than we had actually noticed. There's a whole number of excuses. For example, always online, testing in a remote location on a different PC build. Everyone was in like different PC builds. All the specifications were slightly different, but my positives from the experience outweighed everything. It definitely wasn't running like this. Like, genuinely, I'm not just here. You can see the consistency and then the random skip. That's because they clearly rendered the 30 FPS plus footage at 25. When you do that, you fully just pull out frames. Instead of blending frames to catch up like sometimes happens, you fully just pull those out, and it doesn't work right. There's also us amateurs on screen, on stage, demonstrating this game, developers also demonstrating this game in not a controlled environment. We're just playing the game and experiencing it as most people would. But what an incredible experience to be a part of, and a really cool idea to showcase and demonstrate exactly what you shouldn't. I'm kidding. With incredible intent. I totally get that something like this was always going to be a bit messy. I kind of wondered what they would do. Would they show the crashing and the netcode issues and things like that are going to naturally happen in a situation like this? Showing all the character models being default characters, they are now, I'm sure, completely different. I think we saw in another trailer, they were all now completely swapped out and changed. Like, of course, this is all default stuff. It's a very interesting idea. And again, this isn't even the newest build they were actually working on in game development. There's like a new build at least every day, every week, of all the things that have been changed, and it's more broken than a previous build. You had to select a build, refine it, make sure it's stable, so that you can demonstrate these things or let people playtest. And for example, people on the playtest, you're playing a much older build than is available to the developers right now. I just need... None of us are professionals in any way, but I had an incredible experience with this. The game plays really, really fun, and I really think they've got something unique here. I'm very, very excited about what's to come with this game in terms of exploration. That's probably the biggest thing for me that I'm most excited for. But the fact that this trailer came out, this gameplay came out shortly after, demonstrating in a much better light, it shows that, you know, an edited, more controlled kind of setup maybe makes the best sense to show your game, and you get these cool shots that you couldn't really do normally. Oh my god, the roof comes down. It could have been orchestrated a little bit nicer, but you know, when you play games, it kind of just becomes mayhem, and maybe that's fun sometimes. Maybe the first time you show gameplay. But anyway, I am very excited for this game, and I know a lot of people still are. It'll be interesting to see how they go about this. Hopefully the release date is not much longer. They can't, what else can they really show us and demonstrate to us? Because now we know pretty much everything, and I kind of get a bit worried when they show everything in the game. The amount of times we saw Uncharted 3, Uncharted 4 at events for PlayStation, by the time it came out, I felt like I knew the whole game. But they've definitely got something here that no one else seems to want to really compete with. The crew is seemingly going away from its test drivey kind of roots with no houses or anything. Forza Horizon refuses to do a better job in terms of exploration and placing things around the map and the map and a lot of things. Need for Speed just isn't test drive at all. They've got something that really pull off an incredibly unique experience that's focused on the cars. They're going for a more simcade handling, which is something that all the other games do not do. I'm wrapping this up as excited, but cautious. I really hope they just go, yep, we pulled the always online. Here's the release date. That would make it amazing. Like these videos.